Have you ever known someone who gave their all to their kids but felt quietly hurt when they didn't get much in return? As we grow older, many of us are told that our children will be our safety net, our retirement plan, and even our emotional home. But the truth is, depending too heavily on your children can lead to deep regret. It puts pressure on them. It limits your own growth. And worst of all, it leaves you vulnerable when life doesn't go as planned. This video isn't about blaming your children. It's about freeing you. We're going to explore 8 solid, trustworthy places you can lean on in old age that don't involve placing the full weight of your future on your son's shoulders or your daughter's spare room. You'll learn how to build a stronger support system financially, emotionally, and practically by depending on yourself, your community, and the resources around you. Because here's the truth. You deserve to age with dignity, stability, and freedom, and that starts when you choose wisely where to place your trust. Stay tuned until the end, because you might discover not just a few backup plans, but a whole new way of living with confidence and peace of mind. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Now, let's get started. Pillar 1. Your own savings and pensions. When it comes to security in old age, the most dependable place to start is what you've built for yourself. Your own savings, pension, and retirement income aren't just numbers on a page. They're the result of decades of discipline, sacrifice, and hard work, and most importantly, they allow you to maintain your independence without needing to lean heavily on your children. Too many older adults assume that their kids will step in financially when things get tight. But here's the honest truth. Your children have their own lives to manage. Mortgages, kids' debt, job stress, and relying on them too much can quietly breed resentment or worse, emotional distance. That's not what anyone wants. When you prioritize managing your own resources, something changes inside you. You start to make choices that are based on what's right for you, not what someone else is willing or able to give you. You begin to feel a different kind of control, not the kind that comes from being the boss, but the kind that comes from knowing you can stand on your own 2 feet. And it's not just about having money, it's about how you use it. Some men in their 60s and 70s live on a modest pension, yet feel more secure than others, earning twice as much, because they've learned to manage it well. They budget, they prioritize, and they know where their money's going. Take Harold, for example. He's 82, living comfortably on the Social Security and a small union pension. He lives in a smaller apartment, uses public transportation, and doesn't buy things he doesn't need. But you know what he does have? Peace of mind. No one's waiting for him to ask for help, and no one's frustrated because he did. Relying on your own financial foundation helps you avoid the silent emotional toll that comes from feeling like a burden. It allows your relationship with your children to stay in the realm of love, not obligation. You can enjoy their company, visit on holidays, share stories without that unspoken weight of, I need you to help me with the bills. Of course, not everyone has a fat retirement account or decades of savings to draw from, but even if your financial situation is tight, you can still take ownership of what you do have. Understanding your benefits, eliminating unnecessary expenses, and planning ahead are all ways to take control. The goal isn't to be wealthy. The goal is to be free from guilt, from dependency, and from the fear of running out. And that freedom often starts with the resources you've worked hard to earn. It's never too late to get organized. Even in your 70s or 80s, you can sit down, look at your income, and ask yourself, what do I truly need? What brings me comfort? What gives me dignity? Let your spending reflect your values, not someone else's lifestyle. Because in the end, it's not about how much you have, it's about how well you manage what's yours. The more you can rely on your own financial footing, the more confidence you'll feel walking through every stage of old age. Pillar 2. National and local government programs. Another critical support system that many older adults overlook or underuse is the network of national and local programs created specifically for seniors. These are not handouts. These are benefits you've earned through a lifetime of work, taxes, and contributions. And now, in this chapter of life, they're here to return the favor. From healthcare assistance and housing programs to food subsidies and transportation services, there are more resources out there than most people realize. But here's the challenge. Too many seniors don't take full advantage of them, either out of pride, confusion, or simple lack of awareness. And that's a shame because these programs are designed to reduce pressure on both you and your family. Let's start with health care. Medicare isn't just hospital visits and prescription coverage. There are wellness programs, preventive screenings, therapy services, and sometimes even home care support, depending on your plan and location. But they don't come knocking on your door. You have to know what you're entitled to and ask for it. Local health departments often offer free or low-cost services tailored to seniors, vision checks, flu shots, chronic disease support groups. Many even have social workers who can walk you through your options. That kind of help isn't just practical, it's empowering. Then there's housing. If you're living in a place that's too big, too expensive, or no longer safe, there are senior housing assistance programs at the city, county, and federal level. These aren't just emergency shelters. They're full communities designed for older adults, often with on-site support, social activities, and safety features you won't get in a regular apartment. Think of David, a 75-year-old who is living alone in an aging rental home. The roof leaked, the heater barely worked, and his kids, though concerned, lived hours away. He finally looked into a local senior housing program. Within 3 months, he moved into a quiet, clean apartment in a senior community where someone checks in on him weekly. His rent dropped by half. Transportation is another huge area where government support can make a difference. Many counties offer door-to-door van services, discounted taxi fares, or shuttle buses specifically for medical appointments and grocery trips. It's not glamorous, but it keeps your independence intact. And let's not forget food programs. From Meals on Wheels to senior nutrition centers, you can receive well-balanced meals delivered to your door or eat with others in a safe, friendly environment. For men who've lost a spouse or find cooking harder than it used to be, this can be a lifeline. There are also programs that help with utilities, phone bills, and even home repairs for eligible seniors. These might seem like small things, but they free up your budget and lower your stress. And most importantly, they keep you in control of your choices. If navigating these systems feels overwhelming, there's help for that too. Many communities have agencies on aging, local nonprofits, or senior advocacy groups that will sit with you, fill out paperwork, and guide you through every form and requirement. You don't have to do it all alone. What matters most is knowing that help does exist. Real, tangible help. And it's not just about saving money. It's about building a foundation of support that doesn't depend entirely on your children's time or finances. Tapping into these programs allows your kids to be your family, not your safety net. It keeps your relationships grounded in love, not financial tension. You're not out here navigating old age on your own. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Pillar 3. Senior-friendly communities or housing where you live shapes more than your address. It shapes your peace of mind, your safety, and your ability to thrive. That's why one of the smartest decisions an older man can make is choosing a home that's built with his stage of life in mind. Senior-friendly housing or retirement communities are not just for people who need care. They're for people who want freedom. Freedom from stairs, from isolation, from maintenance headaches, and from the fear of being stuck without help. Living in a space designed for seniors means that your physical surroundings work with you, not against you. Wide doorways, walk-in showers, emergency call buttons, even simpler layouts. All these little things add up. You're not constantly worried about slipping, reaching, or trying to fix what's broken. And that sense of ease is worth more than most people realize. But it's not just about the building. It's about the people. Senior communities bring together folks who are in the same season of life. That means less small talk, fewer generational gaps, and more conversations that actually feel meaningful. You start to make connections, not out of obligation, but out of shared values, shared pace, and shared experience. Take Melvin, for example. He's 79 and moved into a senior apartment complex after his wife passed away. At first, he was reluctant. He didn't like the idea of being around a bunch of old people, he said. But after a few months, he admitted something had shifted. "I'm not around old people," he said. "I'm around my people." He found friends who walk with him in the mornings, neighbors who knock on his door when a new movie is playing in the lounge, people who get it. That kind of community lowers loneliness, and that in turn lowers blood pressure, reduces anxiety, and even helps you live longer. It's not just comfort, it's health. And here's another thing. When you live in a senior-friendly space, you no longer have to rely on your children to check on you every few days just to make sure you're okay. You're surrounded by others who notice if something seems off, who knock if they haven't seen you round, who care, not because they have to, but because they want to. Many of these communities also offer transportation, group outings, wellness programs, and access to on-site care when needed. That means you can continue living independently while having the support to stay that way for longer. You don't have to wait for a crisis to consider a move. In fact, the best time to think about senior-friendly housing is when you're still active and mobile. That way, you get to choose where and how you live, not have it chosen for you during a moment of emergency. And don't let pride get in the way. Choosing a community that suits your needs isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's looking out for your future self so that you're not caught off guard or forced to lean on your children in ways that could strain the relationship. In the end, senior-friendly housing isn't just about having grab bars in the bathroom or a ramp at the entrance. It's about building a lifestyle that supports your independence, preserves your dignity, and surrounds you with people who truly understand what this stage of life feels like. You deserve a home that gives back to you, one that doesn't just shelter you, but supports the life you still want to live. And making that choice now could be one of the kindest things you do for yourself and your children. Pillar 4. Trustworthy friends and peers. As we age, it's easy to fall into the idea that our family, especially our children, should be our main or even only support system. But here's the truth. Many men discover too late it's not always your children who walk with you through the day-to-day of aging. It's your friends, the men you've played cards with for years, the neighbor who waves every morning, the buddy who checks in just to ask how your back is holding up. Friendships in later life aren't built on convenience. They're built on something deeper. Shared memories, mutual respect, and the kind of understanding that comes from being in the same chapter of life. And when cultivated intentionally, these relationships can become one of the most dependable sources of emotional and practical support. Friends often notice changes before family does. They see if you've stopped coming to weekly breakfast. They hear when your laugh doesn't sound quite the same. They know when something's off. And unlike your kids, they're close enough to ask without making it a big production. Don't underestimate the power of having a few reliable peers in your life. Not dozens of acquaintances, but 2 or 3 solid, dependable people you can count on. People who show up when they say they will, who don't mind sitting in silence, who help without making you feel weak. Bill, 78, who lost his wife and lived alone in the same neighborhood for over 30 years, once said his survival didn't come from his kids, who were spread across the country, but from 2 old fishing buddies who brought him groceries after his surgery and kept him company through winter. They didn't call it caregiving, they called it friendship. And that's the beauty of it. Friendships in old age are often lighter than family ties, but in many ways they're stronger. There's less guilt, less expectation, and in that space, kindness flows more freely. These friendships don't always happen by accident. You have to make space for them, join a morning walking group, accept an invitation to lunch even when you don't feel like it, call someone first, show up even when it's easier to stay home. Because what you're building isn't just company. It's a circle of quiet strength, a safety net made of shared stories, easy laughter, and a mutual promise. You're not doing this alone. And here's the part many people forget. Your children want you to have friends. They want to know you have people. It takes pressure off them. It reassures them that you're connected, active, and emotionally cared for. It allows them to be your children, not your sole emotional outlet. And in turn, it gives you something valuable, the chance to share joy, frustration, jokes, and grief with people who truly get it, not because they read about it in a book, but because they're living it too. Friendship in later life doesn't ask for performance. It asks only for presence. And when you invest in those relationships, you're building something your children cannot give you, no matter how much they love you, a sense of mutuality, a shared path, a quiet, steady reminder that your life is still full of people who choose to walk beside you. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Pillar 5, professional services. In a time when more and more older adults find themselves balancing complex health issues, financial decisions, and emotional challenges, depending on trained professionals is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. Doctors, therapists, financial advisors, caregivers, legal consultants, these people exist for a reason. They've studied the problems you may be facing now, and they know how to guide you without emotional entanglement or family drama. So many older men avoid seeking professional help because they're used to figuring things out themselves. And while self-reliance is admirable, it can also become a trap. It can lead you to avoid asking for assistance until a problem snowballs, or worse, until your children have to step in and pick up the pieces. But here's the thing. When you work with a professional, you're not just solving a problem, you're buying yourself options. You're buying clarity, stability, and most importantly, control. Take Paul, a 72-year-old retired postal worker. After years of trying to manage his taxes and investments on his own, he finally sat down with a financial advisor who helped him reorganize his savings, cut unnecessary expenses, and prepare for future care costs. Paul said it was the first time he felt truly prepared for the next 10 years, not because he had more money, but because he had more understanding, and this applies beyond finances. Think about your health. A good primary care physician, a geriatric specialist, a physical therapist, these aren't people you see only when something's wrong. They're people who help you stay well. They know what to watch for. They know what's normal and what's not. And they help you plan ahead, not just patch holes. The same goes for emotional well-being. Many older men carry decades of grief, regret, or unresolved stress, and they've never had the space to talk about it. A counselor or therapist isn't there to judge you. They're there to listen, reflect, and help you process what you've carried alone for far too long. And if daily life becomes physically harder, dressing, bathing, managing meals, a professional caregiver can provide help in a way that preserves your dignity. They're trained, they don't get flustered, they don't make you feel like a burden, and unlike relying on your kids, this help comes without emotional strings attached. You deserve that kind of support, the kind that's consistent, experienced, and designed specifically to meet your needs. And yes, these services can cost money. But here's what most people miss. Not getting help also costs. It costs you physically, emotionally, and often financially down the line when small issues turn into big ones. Prevention is often cheaper and far less painful than crisis. Professional support doesn't replace love. It complements it. When you rely on experts, you allow your children to show up in ways that are rooted in affection, not obligation. They don't have to become your accountant, your nurse, or your therapist. They can remain what they were always meant to be, your family. And you stay in the driver's seat. You make the decisions, you lead the process, and you become the one who says, I've got this covered. You worked your whole life to get here. Don't hesitate to use what's available to make this chapter not just survivable, but truly livable. Because peace of mind isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build, one wise decision at a time. Pillar 6. Local volunteer support groups. When people think of community, they often imagine family dinners or neighborhood block parties. But in older age, some of the most powerful support doesn't come from relatives or old friends. It comes from shared purpose. That's where local volunteer circles and senior support groups come in. These spaces are more than just activities. They're lifelines. There's something deeply stabilizing about being around people who not only understand what you're going through, but are walking the same road. In these circles, no one's judging your wrinkles or your pace. No one's surprised that your knees hurt or that you sometimes forget where you put your glasses. Instead, there's a sense of mutual respect, of solidarity. Whether it's a local center offering grief support, a weekly meetup at the community hall, or even a walking group for retired men, these kinds of groups restore what many older adults slowly lose, a sense of belonging. And that sense of connection does more for your heart than most pills ever could. Joseph, a 76-year-old widower, joined a volunteer team that builds access ramps for other seniors' homes. He said the work gave him back a reason to wake up early. It wasn't about being a hero. It was about being needed. And in that need, he found purpose again. Purpose is a powerful thing. It quiets loneliness, it steadies the mind, and it brings a natural rhythm to your week. When you know someone is expecting you, whether it's to help pack food boxes or just join a morning coffee circle, it pulls you out of the spiral that isolation can sometimes bring. Support groups offer more than company. They offer listening, reflection, and often solutions. Whether you're managing a chronic illness, navigating grief, or just struggling with the quiet that comes after retirement, talking with others who understand lightens the load. And these connections don't always stay inside the group. Friendships form, carpooling begins, phone calls fill the in-between hours. You begin to build a quiet web of support that asks nothing from your children but gives you everything you need: encouragement, laughter, a sense of being seen. You don't have to be outgoing to benefit. Even showing up and sitting quietly can be enough. The point isn't to perform. It's to participate in whatever way feels right. And the beauty of these groups is that they're mutual. You're not just receiving, you're offering. Your story, your perspective, your humor, your patience, they all become a gift to someone else who thought they were alone until they met you. These are not charity circles. They are circles of strength, and they remind you that being needed, being respected, being connected, that's not something that disappears with age. It's something that evolves. Most towns and cities have bulletin boards at libraries, recreation centers, or churches with listings for senior groups and volunteering opportunities. Start there. Ask around. Test the waters. The first step is simply showing up, and when you do, you may find something unexpected. Not just companionship, but identity. A space where you're not someone's father, patient, or dependent, but simply a man among men, living, giving, and growing. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, Please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Pillar 7, faith-based or spiritual communities. For many older men, there comes a point in life where they begin to ask different questions. Questions that aren't about money, work, or even health, but about meaning. Why am I still here? What is this phase of life trying to teach me? Where do I go with the feelings no one talks about? And often, the answers to those questions don't come from logic or planning. They come from a deeper place. That's where spiritual and faith-based communities can become not just a comfort, but a lifeline. These spaces, whether it's a church, synagogue, mosque, temple, or meditation group, offer more than ritual or tradition. They offer rhythm, they offer grounding, they offer a reminder that you are part of something larger than yourself. And in a stage of life that can sometimes feel small or lonely, that sense of connection to something bigger can be deeply healing. You don't have to be overly religious to benefit. You don't even have to have all the answers. Many men return to spiritual spaces later in life, not because they've figured it all out, but because they finally feel safe enough to admit they haven't. These communities offer rituals that mark the passing of time, something that can be deeply comforting when days begin to blur together. Weekly gatherings, morning reflections, shared meals, seasonal events. They bring structure and purpose to the calendar, especially for those living alone. They also bring people who check in when they haven't seen you in a while, people who ask how you're doing and wait for the real answer, people who offer prayer or encouragement or just a warm presence without expecting anything in return. Warren, a 74-year-old, returned to his childhood church after retirement. He said that the hardest part wasn't walking through the door, but realizing how much he had missed being part of something sacred. He said, "It's not about sermons. It's about being seen, being remembered, being prayed for." Spiritual communities often provide tangible help too: transportation, meal support, visitation during illness, funeral planning, and more. And the help is often offered freely by people who see it not as a task, but as part of their calling. But perhaps most importantly, faith gives many older men a place to process the invisible things: grief that never got named, regret that's been buried for decades, the ache of mortality, the quiet longing for peace. Spiritual practices, whether that's prayer, silence, service, or study, create space for that kind of reflection. They don't erase the hard things, but they hold them in a different light. And often, in that light, healing begins. You may not have all the same beliefs you once did, and that's okay. Faith evolves. It grows with you. And spiritual community isn't about dogma. It's about belonging. It's about the quiet assurance that you're not walking this path alone. And the truth is, your children cannot give you this kind of nourishment. It's not their role. You need spaces where you are not a parent, a patient, or a provider, but a soul, a person still learning, still reaching, still worthy. Whether it's lighting a candle, reading a passage, listening to a hymn, or simply sitting in silence with others, you are reminded that your life still holds meaning and that the final chapters are not about decline, but about deepening. Faith doesn't remove the weight of aging, but it changes how you carry it. And with the support of a spiritual community, you may just find that the journey becomes not only lighter, but sacred. Pillar 8. Your own skills and daily routines. In the search for stability during old age, many men look outward toward their children, the government, or support systems in the community, but there's one source of strength that often gets overlooked: yourself. The skills you've developed, the habits you've formed, and the routines that shape your day. These are not small things. They are your foundation. They are what keep you upright when life feels uncertain. You've spent decades solving problems, building things, fixing what was broken, and showing up when others couldn't. And those skills didn't vanish just because your hair turned gray or your joints got stiff. They are still with you, and they still matter. Knowing how to make a simple meal, manage your medications, organize your schedule, clean your space, maintain your hygiene, these are the quiet rituals that keep you rooted in dignity and self-respect. When you rely on your own capabilities, even in small ways, you reinforce the belief that you're not helpless. You're still the captain of your ship. Let's take something as basic as a morning routine. Waking up, brushing your teeth, stretching for 5 minutes, making coffee, opening the curtains, turning on music. These aren't chores. They're signals to your brain. I'm awake, I'm in control, I'm still living my life. Routine brings rhythm, and rhythm brings peace. It keeps the day from slipping into confusion. It gives you something to return to, even when emotions feel heavy or energy is low. And don't underestimate the value of your problem-solving skills. You may not climb ladders like you used to, but you still know how to adapt. You still know how to ask the right questions, look for practical solutions, and take one step at a time. That kind of mindset is something many younger people haven't even learned yet. Carl, an 80-year-old who recently moved into a smaller place, said the best thing he brought with him wasn't furniture. It was his habit